Okay, Abusia, ye bisa say, will President Mahama appoint Justice Amadu Tanko as the next Chief Justice of Supreme Court? Abusia, we ne a ye topica ewa ene ye babe discuss. Ye waha ena a ye former Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Tokono. Eye ni removal process no so ewo ne nneoma bi a eche say eye petitioners bi petition President Mahama ama eche say eye 5-member committee etna ase a eche say omo ye investigations on eye petitioner omo petition President Mahama and after said petition no investigations no ekwawie no committee no submit final report no edema President Mahama say yemfa en remove Chief Justice Tokonu na ansana yeba be remove Chief Justice Tokonu no ebusuya ye can suspend Mahame no committee sitting no ekoso no ye can suspend former Chief Justice Tokonu na ye suspend no na process no eguso investigations no ekoso na echese Mahame no charges bebre ebobo by ema echese ordin the family so etu kwan family na odi omutu kwan na illegal and maame no afede bibia kwa awie no na echese maame no yia na si no and ye no so no ye the acting chief justice acting chief justice na ye de ne bae no Bafo Boni Paul Bafo Boni ono ena ye de no acting chief justice na ene edin eliki sa edin na eliki no President Mahama yehwese eno ena obehwe so na ode Chief Justice of Ghana and as the Supreme Court ena Justice Amadu Tanko nidin ababe PM and acting Chief Justice friend Paul Bafuboni ono so one Tanko Amadu ebe compete ana entina busuya sisiaron sa edin we ena chese elikia yede ebrema Justice Amadu Tanko ono ena probably likely say obey Chief Justice of Ghana as is aside no eliki Ivan Chi edin sembi ababetu da momi yanko na yankonkuti ensema ekoso unsubscribe ya subscribe like na share ma afofo nso ensa into me enkabi Ghana politics avenue so medamanse.
Yes, Ghana Nibia were right, sir, at any point in time. Adia bi nkoye. Na we dissatisfied and interna yenina ya fighting for democracy. Your democratic institutions. Menunya sama men kan. These institutions are supposed to be there to address and I say on adjudicate and I say on jina ni tumi so no hwehwe sansem no mfa de ese babi ese ye de to yemfa nto. What ha won ya hotofo ye adwuma yi ochina oba beduru ha say na say daddy boss ko jina gate no ka cho Alaska me ma wunguram na ya pamo na oman any reasons bia na
organ so we shipa
on na me kokot on kofie nkofa se kan se won ne ba be ko na mom
Bosco meet me in court
bia na nkrata won ne wo sensan ya kira say bia in the next way no and also bi on so ni reasons owo court no ba hwehwem na ode de se ye de to ato Alaska but e could do a point bi na nipa na ye nyina ye getum se onimemra odi mra owe mra odamram because to become a chief justice it means that would mra owe mra wo ne mra na da wo de mra na yesuniye unim wo ye tibrekese wa bin wom and whenever you are making legal argument we assume say something that is crafted out of you being witty. Witty means better, smart, and intelligent.
Very well.
And then our canon, our precise and a very concise footholding in law. And to the very moment, our Casano, a man for a press, you will be a free ho. But I don't know, growing up, no to me who TV or Casa. The obey will be about it because you know, said the person is coming to sell knowledge.
But
you be a point to be not nipana. Wo free say nipa we aduru bresei o kasa yesi yete akonwa betena ase na yebetie no na afensam na o ka ne yensam ase se bia kora ketewa bi a ne buafu na o totoma na amanfo a wabam bebu And that's exactly the playbook the current Chief Justice Ekura Ordenam.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Alaska, it's very frustrating, some of the arguments are not all make it. And no, I'm in a program, and I make a say, whoever becomes the next Chief Justice, you know, Obi atoko no tena na asem so tena so dey bia no should petition the new Chief Justice say asem no mudi and they should review all the cases. Oh yes.
The posture.
Per nema wa advertise no. What demonstrate incompetence. Na the understanding of the law no me say Ghana your constitution no ebi or no kura Chinese version and all kind free India minim.
Chinese version.
Yes. And obesisa from chin to English and now we abeti ase and maybe na west na bia sesa wo ebi no kura Chinese version of our constitution or no ready and the okanya understanding is different from the obiati ase Alaska because anya some of the arguments she's making they are funny, they are laughable, they are right. Just I don't even mean who the appropriate word they are made to describe it. For instance, and rather make us say constitution say ye Chief Justice na kwan na efa so yi no ni nyina nam se yem pese ye begu ekuo no anima se wa bontinti no yenye in camera.
That's right. And such a babontin.
And we nya se obi na kwatena se Supreme Court ruling no aya Ghana amamra constitution 1992 no ehiem aya clause ewom enya se interpretation no aya clause explicit aya tworo
I want to be your hoshe
court bi anu akwe court enhyemra. The only way to change that thing is to do a constitutional review. Na committee na proposing they go through process of constitutional amendment. Na amend Parliament na Ghana for na be yes adwuma. And there are some portion kra nya Parliament a true referendum and e betimi aye.
Yes or no.
Nti nipa no no nim mra call Supreme Court ko ka kire omo say media no munyi no TV so. When she knows or a Chief Justice onim say it can never be possible. And so already Amadu Tanko JS in the ruling na oka wom say ono kra e no nwanwa say Chief Justice ebe make that request ko onim say Supreme Court need to me to do that ana enti say nipa we atena wasem so adipan a you should be worried
and the number bre at the fiasia I was say on my bush of one petition new Chief Justice
maka kire say institution ba ko a onye owo akwanya we even will right to life or right to live. I was asking so but Jeffrey some the judge and the Supreme Court near court system. It is such an institution, you need to espouse integrity, competence at the highest level. But if you have your Chief Justice because today you're trying to formality or making argument like a baby, you should be worried. Sasa dream we are another to court no DD asem na now be answer crime ben so na Akuffo Addo fa so hu na okofa no so me Chief Justice when the senior etetete ono uja omu nyina ho kofa no baaye hey understanding of the law is very problematic. Again, the fresh argument are all making and then they say ya yina di as Chief Justice na ye nyina di as a high court judge. Alaska we say asem no baaye professor bi ko kan asem no tuma me ka kire say your friend say it is the most weakest and I say argument so anybody even obia onim ba bia law school dying crazy should not be making that argument. Because you see very often ade amam for you say Akroma no say unyan call law school na man for shade na say nda omasa say use legal jargons just to throw you off.
That's right.
Sa no yenu na musu mass na sa no mote aka say Akroma whenever a conversation is riddled with mathematical proficiency ya keka percentage na se for obi ashy away.
That's right.
Enya me area. But ebia wunya abotana wura ma bewusa nkwasasem na mo keka. Fine X. So wunya kokodro na wura sa mathematical conversation or mo have na ebia kra wo benya better understanding. Let me tell you, law ya fra de be reasoning. Alaska okol law ma ya fra de be ya friend say jurisprudence and the theory, the philosophy and the reasoning behind law. So it goes beyond the test. I will book.
Okay.
Mrano, the purpose, why, the how, the reasoning behind it. So whenever you will obi kasan they keep your friend saying quoting constitutional phrases that is not the law. The law, the actual law is the reasoning behind the law. Anything I walk court, na san kamran na da hono. Ofuma chapter we say yam boat wonku ehun hia se kwa kodi asem Meboa.
That's right.
Because the law they say over no I am found prison. I didn't say do koko.
So I called the reason
exactly
behind
that is why
that particular clause.
That is where the jurisprudence comes in. I'm just hoping, sir, President Mahama will find a very more competent person. And me, if I'm to advocate here, there is this gentleman called your friend saying Amadu Tanko, JSC.
Fantastic.
I think the entire I have never met him, but
what kind of rulings?
I read the ruling, and I think that I see myself in him.
And
I think that if possible, now he can become the next Chief Justice. I think he can do a lot to sanitize the judiciary. The reasoning behind it, and maybe say law any reasoning the any law any reasoning the any a reasoning because emranya ma no na yenim say metia wunya mehwe na me bo wasoma eti amra and I'm not supposed to do that. Emra bia ni ho a eche me anase yemfa say emra ni ho. The reasoning will tell you say wunya nya mehwe na me bo wasoma. I'm not supposed to do that. And now ebi also to why me say obi a humi nkwa na me hu ye. And na me de abufu abebo waso. Say man for who reason the what they say na they will justify why men so me bebo waso.
Exactly.
So law was crafted out of reasoning. Enya reasoning enya law na di reasoning by
my reasoning
na the law by
based upon reasoning you craft
law out of it. So reasoning is a larger spectrum more than law. And that is why you bet you have one constitutional test. Yes, best subject to multiple interpretations.
That's right.
Because we want to, because the whole essence of law is to put society together. To your integration, by your intact, your coercion. And anything that is seeking to disintegrate society, we clip it with interpretation.
That's right.
That is the reasoning behind the law. Good. And it is the Chief Justice, I will say, Yinadi as Chief Justice. Now, Yinadi as your father saying, Supreme Court Judge. Alaska, the first qualification to become a Chief Justice, I
also a Supreme Court Judge.
Good.
I told me law school now, I'm
and then you call law school. The first, the primary way, yes, a wateni, and son of a Chief Justice, you must first be
a Supreme Court Judge.
Good. So when you become a Supreme Court judge, when you become a Chief Justice, a extra administrative role and the amount. So more or less like she is the CEO of the judiciary.
That's right. So are you a Supreme Court judge and you are elevating to
good. Just like a medical doctor, our Sunyan Teaching Hospital, you are elevating any CEO of the hospital.
That's
you
right.
are a doctor and you are because maybe the offense said the Teaching Hospital Act in which say yeah man doctors and the mayor CEO. So you are a doctor and you've been promoted to become a CEO. The same way Chief Justice because so obey Chief Justice now you are the friend S officio. S officio say what rises to position now when by the virtue say now what position be that and that position you know na de wa ba beduru ba bia wa ba beduru grandin e wo ho. So you perform the role simultaneously.
Okay,
because without Chief Justice, without Supreme Court judge, you can never become a Chief Justice.
So
a two role that is being exercised in simultaneously at the time. Good. Yeah, making that point away again. So okay, judiciary now. If there is one institution, here uttermost of credibility, attitude, best. Can never be challenged anywhere there.
The Supreme Court.
Good. And so what kind of judiciary, no, or more regulations nice for espouse on integrity, attitude, and competence on your part. So Alaska, let's assume without admitting, say, some na petitioner the come Chief Justice, no. Yes, you share we a constitutional body said that be mame. Baby ababe drui, what dan suba money edi. What does subammonia di? Because constitution is on the ground of misbehavior, incompetence, or infirmity, both body and mind.
That's right.
Misbehavior, just say what does subammonia di? Which has to do with what? Attitude. 2.3. And it is on that basis, and I hear Pamo from Supreme Court. So what does subammonia di? Now, so won't be your administrator of the judiciary? Won't be your CEO? And as a administrative head of the judiciary with subammonia, can you be a judge of the highest court of the land with that same super money?
No.
Common and reasoning came before law. 2.3. And the what is a man 40 a TV so kotu and constitutional verses forget them. People are not thinking. That is why I wanted to use common sense to situate this so that you understand. Because a Juma Bakwa you hear the uttermost of integrity. Nipa desani enya ohwasa yes yenyina nipa de but you need to advertise leave competence in that kind of way no in Alaska yakọ sunwane teaching ana yakọ teaching hospital bi wo esirem ba bi anasa bi anasa akra ha ba bi kolebu yakọ ye no na CEO ni butu oba so won office or force na tete ntade nyina na eda ya che no wada subambo ne adi yakọ hwem nyina wie ne se CEO we ese ye pam no ye nya ne CEO biem o se ma pam me de am ye doctor nti me call ward akwa he the question is wo call ward na akwa hwe hwan ko nipa na wo hwe o mo e ma wom wo betimi asan akoto another mo na
I common sense. That's right.
Because nipa na wo fom no ntina ye yi wa firi ba bia wo ni nipa dijuma so get this point clear wo fom nipa that is why ye yi wa firi ba bia wo serve nipa in that capacity entino untumi nka say ye madi as a headmaster entino me ba be teacher
because when anya demotion
dabi
when anya demotion
outright dismissal.
That's right.
Why yes super money what that super money so super money in any organization we don't tolerate it. What hey otena ye be to studio na wo to obi mo na
emaso
or asem kind of maker. It's not because adwuma na wo ye no wunnim ye o. But enam sa suban na wada da dinti all the experience ewo radio mu na atena se ma hwan obi an ka biem cause suban na wada na di no I rubbish everything.
Assume me a substantive minister ye medinti because deputy.
You can't do that. And there are people who make a very funny argument about saying MP or your minister, your minister na friends. I didn't know they call MP. That is a joke of an argument. Oh yes, I'm for making that cheap argument.
MP unkrofa na to abadi amount. And a wababa ye MP.
Yes.
And when the officer
extra rule
ye the amount. I know you be na appointed.
There are two distinct rules.
No, Tio, I know you be na appointed. It is a me last before Atu Obama me say MP. And omudi me akọ parliament and Mahama say or making me minister. And waji ni minister last before nka je so mumpe me as MP.
And akwa na okwa we paper no. Ye pamo no as a deputy minister.
Ye pamo no as a deputy but no ye MP.
Ye twen ye duru abato no ono ani nkrofo nya kwanya mo ye ne dai.
Omo tutia no.
Nje se paper no we no he fa.
Oh,
the political career na we ya no.
A nice example now man.
Good. So Alaska, that is and some toko no na ma oga ni nyina ensem hunu. Yes, we can respect her or achieve. That is why I say I am worried because the legal thinking is very weird, and you're very archaic, very primitive, and I'm still wondering. Nipa, I am worried, and I'm challenging the state to say, Obia mami we yatna na semsu dibia should go back to the court. Now, yeah, open because we're demonstrating how incompetent she is.
And adwini way.
And a yedi asem.
And a yedi
election petition. You when you did in some Akroma say. And Alaska, I say, President Mahama, new relief no their account. I say President Mahama in new whole coin say. Your friend is saying, committee na or set it up. Ma yetra na semsono. A more like jurisdiction, and it was not properly constituted. When you look around, you look around that. Yes, obi we think na say dem live there MPP aban also fire o ntia ba na say ne be kwakọ committee ho we on it we were assemble and e ba na say that is a moral argument we can have, but constitutionally and legally the president has the power to go through the constitution and say for 2 Supreme Court judges. Whoever he appoint, that is his business.
And the constitution qualification is 2 Supreme Court judges.
So whoever the president appoint is none of your business. Yeah, the president can be biased and appoint people he thinks but that has no basis in law. To raise a red flag, many way was now where do you be a 17 emrabe na ya trust Alaska betrema ni na me di na asem as a judge na me di mawa. E say I create a certain fraternal alliance with you. And you know, me our side and any other issue that come means we metenam.
I'm ready interest.
Because you sit at the court, you dispense justice. You don't create alliances and fraternity.
Kaya, the same talk on we. I think one of Encrofia no do masem Sakoko man ya Opuni.
Yes.
Once Opuni rezi ne legal when rezi issue say one of the justices was a parliamentary candidate of the MPP. Yes. Entino anka on recusing no Obabeka say e wo ho ne anka politics.
Sorry no the year no. I'm sorry. Yes. Your friend saying on we are Speaker of Parliament. Yes. Sorry no the year no. So this is a woman and Niema what done a demonstrated clear biases in her era. And if there's ever been a chief justice Obeji Akroma no di be gu nanim ase demonstrate to people ne partisan biases this woman. The oye no, she's just advertising herself. And me, it's a clear embarrassment. She's not hidden to wise counsel. Makache says we see musuo kwan so a wona se haha ukowu a obi police ni betimi stop you say pack na ye message wo de ahohara betu car na akọ. Because who nothing will stop wona se ha obi a stop her wuntie o ma me betimi afro kwaku dan wani bro bra ba say unko wu ya enti wani so enti ono wa sha se egu nanim ase obi akanya nsesam che no ntie enti onto so begu nanim ase awie no nothing will stop her enti basis by no ogina so aka say that particular panel was not properly constituted in line with the article 146. Which article? And again they are making some funny arguments say Ezenka president neka say you were as chief justice na mom not as a and say no you can as a Supreme Court judge in the constitution in very well say that role no a dual role.
That's right.
And one because you cannot be a chief justice without being a Supreme Court judge in you know when role now who play no has to do with attitude. You've been flagged as an incompetent person. Alaska, just common sense. Chief Justice ya flagging say is a wo army. Now could this be nsɛmunu ne yi wadi a yanka say your friend say sack soldier wo. Your frau the disgraced officer.
Yeah, that's right.
Disgraced. Because yi wadi. And the Chief Justice today has become a disgraced Chief Justice. Alaska ne emblem ordinam onama sa tag na bono. This is the disgraced Chief Justice ya pam na yi na di because okoda suba money edi. The Alaska yabada sorry and they say or Supreme Court edi asem na okodi ni pasam anaso okodi mo asem. Who will have trust and confidence to go and sit before a disgraced person? Somebody what demonstrates or you're incompetent. I'm a constitutional body. I find you guilty. Why not quite an enemy dinner sem?
No, no quarter of presiding over no also on you court in Indy.
And I'm say, Ogun and Nimase, Ebia, Obitu uniform Kebabuano. Tie. Asemno the court and no, or Kofale no High Court. Asemno, seeking constitutional interpretation. High Court any jurisdiction to hear anything concerning interpretation of it. Because Nimsa Supreme Court, you know, I'm for more honor or in the side. And in the side, High Court any whole kind to our Matthias Assam we are working. Because a constitutional interpretation, High Court and church constitution, it is only the Supreme Court that is seated with authority.
That's right.
So, some you know, my country and say, just watch out. Either the High Court. Not wogu. And now say refer to Supreme Court.
I'm a catcher, someone need jurisdiction.
Exactly. So why would the Chief Justice only Mrawako school we are some of these basic errors?
And the ama won some our case ye certificate na. Na ya ninam ho nyina ye certificate na just say the aka no. And
I don't believe in certificate. Yeah, I believe in Alaska way obiena no okasa metimi testify say this guy is intelligent. You don't need to go home and bring a certificate. No. I am not a certificate person. Intelligence must be demonstrated wherever, whenever, whatever. Baby I will be whenever you get opportunity. Abrante we a obedi Germany for wu bebrebe on fa na Adolf Hitler was one. Some ka to so onye Germany of Austria so je near no okọ join in the first world okun we ohu say hyperinflation atete o man no. Then na oye spy up for the German government at the time no mosman say nkrofo no omo pese omo yeku nti yasoma nkọ na kwateta omo na be report man. Uja for quarter oti ensem na omo kana na ono awe interest wo mu.
No say more there.
They say no, I'm a report back to government BM. Owura man okwaje mic na okokasaaye. Obie na no so okasaaye pe no mu say bibi wo mu. Wan cover certificate amachire o.
That's right.
So certificate te no. Yes, very important. By obabi e de kire. But when it comes to demonstration of knowledge, intelligence, then as a for no ma manfo ni hu adanse abra wo bie wa no na wo kasa. Young coffee and me masters in this and me doctor with and then say without it, you have nothing to show. That is why the last time I catch us and when new things come, people are there nipo mo akoma dear chilbebre nipa almost low self-esteem.
Exactly.
Because of freeze on one kasa nama onye enough. Into just onya iPhone 15 and 16 kura no the chere. And Sarah Manfo who say one so
add the value.
Add the value. Because on one kasa he doesn't see any value. But if you have absolute confidence in your certain no kama and yeah anything add anything value to you, but you are using it because you need it. Oga kotoka kuntai baby and the purchase ho no see free because on one kasa no doesn't see value in herself unless a man for ba attach na ba link no to bibi. Sa na certificate dey na akwakoye. Enti ma me no me say asembia chief justice atenas wadi bia Alaska ye open up because nema oye gusu gunani masia demonstrate say emrana na me kan bia Ghana constitution no or not Chinese version or kind and our certain twisted understanding say obi nsu na etu no for na say obi na etu for Alaska obi osua de aduru sa mere we e de na ba ma ho kwan ma obi ayusu ensem na wadi kan dia court no okwa Supreme Court boni nyina tugu so obaka ya akọ de ko fa odo so nya 5-0 no bi o de ko High Court mo botugu ye de o de ko ECOWAS Court minim de abesi e
no so ya bo egu
yo enti enne o so okọ High Court nsam no ni nyina so maame jetum se wabobra bone tumi na obenya ye no wan fam wo nipa wo de tena nipa so Supreme Court bench na wote no nipa na wote ho no woni omo relationship say na necessity.
That's right.
Because why we chief justice obenya nipa omo wo show omo ase a nkasa be wo impact positive omo ankra be di adanse tiawo.
That is it.
That tells you the kind of leader you are. It means judiciary now will pray about they don't want you. I keep telling people say never be comfortable at a place you are not needed. Me one friend baby opa ye me den come.
It's true.
Even TV program crowd friend say Ivan next week your program ade be chena one friend ya. Me ma 92.3 ade be chena one kai me because anything can change. E bia wa change your plan. Na me sorry mfiri me fear who are ma ba say me okay say Friday I don't do that. Wherever I go no I make sure say I am needed. That is why I'm coming. What friend in na meba. That is why the last time Kwame Sefa kan na your friend say Sami Jam issue no the year no. Sada na am say Sami the chair no. Because me ubisa am sa question na nka ye hu bedware ye ho. Ko ubisa Sami Jam bisa wo pede wo studio. Na bisa say o studio say nya troba na obi atwam awura ho.
That's right.
Troba na utwam awura ho. But studio yam frɛ wa wo ma. So for Sami Jam fit to go there so obi na frɛ no. Unless I can't change the studio, it's a trouble. They would do am frobia. And I be about Udu Haura, who see can walk on.
And no baby sounds open.
Do be some behind no be some pedia, and Kaba GBO.
A murder be so GB. That's all we know. So you don't ask the partners of pedia. You ask the invitee or so on Maraho. What are some American? Because we studio in your trouble, be sorry and walk. Right.
You invited people and son of Maba. What I say. So I think that. Toko no there ogusu gunanimase nyame adom obekọ so gunanimase just to affirm and say man na ye mubunum ya ka in the past and say your judiciary no omo man is so dirty na no na make say the new chief justice obeba no ye make sure say go down to your lower court Alaska and some form di no sa magistrate lower court no what's in some nubia or read about ho and sometimes
that's right.
So what chance on some of the rulings now for paper be now kanya or read about ho. So I am urging the president say on tasking whoever becomes
the chief justice
to go down.
There's a resetting and for the
yes, it's not just about the top here. Because a man for who need justice at the villages are or who need Poncheno, they are suffering.
Oh,
and we need to sanitize. So now no make joy problem make say the removal of the chief justice should be the beginning. A man for say me say Mahama Pamim a man for Dabi. Me say sanitizing should include the lower court.
That's
because
right.
I know the sentencing regime no I so very problematic and we need to look at it. Every neighbor man now Attorney General they plea bargain in Nama Ghana for Buafui.
that's right.
Because this is not what we need. We need to create a system. I best scare man for who's a Ghana mine who may your mind for we need. And that is what we need to do. So it is never about the chief justice. But last time we see Mahama no yeah some miscalculation be and then I pass it na oh yeah the oh yeah. Do you know why? Abro pam no our call no. Now in her twisted head no she thought to say Ghana for better see demonstration because you pam chief justice.
That's
People
right.
were rather celebrating on social media. People were enter na MPP boy we can say onim say John Mahama ye Ghana for duro.
That's right.
Say na say omo pam chief justice or expect so be hu anger our Ghana. No, obian hu ade bubefu because abrabo no mo born kroma na ye wiram fi ye. Afenyo mark any speaker nya asem ade cheye na wa set date LGBT case besi na wa hu date ade mai
Yeah, or the assembly called 12 p.m. About 2 p.m. no to me a panel.
yes and you see the biases were quite obvious and she never thought that MPP was going to lose power so she had to do that to safeguard her position because the biases were quite, because common sense enough to tell you say common sense and somebody should have told her Domilivoya I can say me. We treat in the papa and Kabaka the panel was not properly constituted. Then are the year no or they are obedience. No Domilivo crowd at the court.
That's right.
A civil society organization that they call court. What's an answer? My papa no call retirement and say we do ruling, but no, or said the ruling man. No. Now free some kwana nim nyansa. Now what the Supreme Court na decide some hunu when some fool am Ghana for buofu. Am I Supreme Court na kwada atachem Ghana for suan ko vote for change. So and that change is starting from you are out there talking nonsense. No. I think say ebiwa on miscalculate your backfire. Asem na kwakwada because na say galam say na man for eka. So otina say na hu say na me hu hia na say na ma me fa another one kotum. Edi ebe activate certain competence. So that's the reason why I'm not here. I can't say. So on there, the essence and the relevance. She belongs to the past or a history. You move for your name.
So a year, Justice Amadu Tanko, NHS Elikia, a year Chief Justice of Ghana, and as a Supreme Court, only say a yes or no, and as a Chief Justice. But I'm asking somebody Kokotisa in some way at my Ghana politics avenue so madam.